For today's workshop, I want you to download the Wabi Sabi assets and then open up After Effects and import them into your folder. First thing we're going to do is create a new comp, make it 1080p. We'll call it one roughen edges and then your name or initials. Make sure that it is 1 second long, 1 frame long. Alright, and we'll open up our assets, and the first thing we'll do is we will drag in cracked concrete. I'm going to hit S as the hotkey, and we will scale that up to fill the frame. Next we will grab the OU logo and we will drag it on top. And we will scale that up to fill the frame a little better, but give us approximately what I'm trying to key on is that this width, I'm trying to give us that much headroom on each side to create balance. Okay, so make sure that the OU logo is selected, and we are going to roughen the edges of that, and so we will drop it into that layer, and that's what the preset looks like. And the two major controls that we have are edge sharpness on this slider scale, and as we go left it gets softer and softer, so we'll want it a little bit soft. And then complexity is another one that we have control over. Alright, and so I don't know, roughly that looks about right. And now we are going to select our cracked concrete. I'm going to hit Command D, duplicate it, and then that middle layer we will make it an alpha track matte, and then we will add levels to that middle layer, and we will darken the gamma until it looks like a shadow is being cast on our dark concrete. And so this is an example of Wabi Sabi, right? Everything's a little bit broken and decayed, but it still looks really cool. Alright, let's make our... So let's go ahead and actually what we'll do is we'll go composition, save frame as file, and that name is fine, but we'll just leave that in the queue, and we will go on to our next comp. And the next comp we will call 2 blending modes with your name, same specs. So in this one we will drag the OU logo in and scale it up again. Next we will create a gray solid, layer new solid, Command Y is the hotkey, and we will pick a middle value gray. Okay, and we will drag that to the bottom of the timeline. And we will set that to alpha matte. And then we will take the grunge texture, pull that on top. We'll scale that up to fill the frame. And we will set the blending mode to pin light. And if you don't see your blending modes, just right click in columns and make sure that modes is checked. And we will set it to pin light, which is here. And I like to make that contrastier, so pick the grunge texture and drag levels into that, and then we will just adjust the gamma until it looks cool. Alright, and we will add that composition, save frame as file, come back to that, go back to project, we will create our next comp, and we will call that 3 overlay grunge map. Same specs. And the difference that we'll do here is that this looks cool, but we don't really have an alpha channel to, if we wanted just to mess up the logo and drop that on a different background. We don't have that ability because the grunge texture is on top. And so this time we will do it with an alpha background. And to see the alpha background, I'll just toggle this switch here so we can see that we do have the alpha background. Drag these guys out of there. Okay. So for this one, we will take our OU logo, drag it into the comp, and we'll scale that up again. And now we'll duplicate it with Command D. And we will take the grunge texture and we will drag it between the two. And we will set this grunge texture to alpha matte. Looks like we gotta scale it up. We just need to scale it up big enough to fill the frame, to fill the text. Next, we will set the blending mode of the grunge layer to overlay. Where are you, overlay? There you are. And we will add a levels to that so that we can kind of see the grit in there. And I'm going to get into the color correction, and we're going to grab hue saturation, drag that in there, and we will drag down some of the saturation so that it looks a little less beautiful. Oh, actually that needs to go in, let me cut that, and I'm going to paste it into our bottom layer. And we'll paste that into the OU logo because that's where we were getting the red. Alright, now we got something that looks a little more worn and vintage. We can also adjust the opacity of our grunge texture to pick out as much as we like. Alright, so let's go ahead and add that to our render queue. Same frame as File, and we'll go back to our project and we will make our last comp, and we will call that 4 texture tiling with your name. And we will add the Asylum orange cell to it. We're going to add Reptile to that comp. And so this is a special comp that's tile that's designed so that it's borderless, so that we can actually, as we expand it, we won't see any seams. And so I'm going to expand it left and right and top and bottom until it fills the frame. And then I'm going to add hue and saturation, and we're going to spin the hue wheel a little bit until it's kind of a yellowy green. A little too much. There's, and pull out some of the saturation. Okay. Next we will add the OU logo to the top. Scale that up. And we will send this blending mode to hard light. And we will add hue and saturation to that one. And desaturate it. Then we will add, we want to kind of create a vignette to darken the edges. So we'll go layer, new, adjustment layer. We will set our mask tool to ellipse, and I'm going to actually just rename this layer. I'm going to highlight it, hit return, and we'll call it vignette so we know what we're dealing with later when we come back. And so with that layer selected, I'm going to just double click, and we have our oval mask. If you can't see it, this toggle switch will turn it on and off for you. I want to select just this node, and so by hovering near, I got my little picker rectangle, so I'm going to left click and hold and select that bad boy, and I'll just drag it down, and now I can individually pick each one. And we will add levels to our vignette, and we will adjust the gamma to darken it, and we will set our mask to subtract, and we will also feather our mask, and now I can readjust my level so it kind of blends naturally. Increase our feather some more, and I'm going to actually shrink it so that it kind of looks like we've got like a background light on our subject, and then I'll just readjust our mask to accommodate that. Okay, composition, save frame file as, and now we can just hit render, and it'll bang all 4 out, and you can post those to D2L.